few weeks ago, Printful reached out to me and asked if I would like to do a video with them. I said, sure, that sounds good. So what do you want me to do? And they said, you can literally do anything. So I decided it would be a really cool idea if I was to design my own graphic design fashion brand. The idea being that we don't actually create a fashion brand, but everything that we print looks like a mock-up. So just like with any other project, the first thing I needed to do was brainstorm for names and how it'll look. So naming the brand was going to be difficult. I had a lot of ideas, from Lorem Ipsum to Lockup to Lauren by itself. Logo here. I wanted to get this essence of it being deconstructed. But after writing all the names on post-it notes and trying to figure out what would be the coolest name, I thought mock-up would be a good one. Keep it really plain and simple. We can play around with the logo type, we can play around with the different elements of what that means and try and make it look cool. Now, I knew the vibe that I wanted to go for with mock-up. I wanted it to be kind of high-end, trendy, cinematic. So with every project I do, I create a mood board. And for those of you that don't know, a mood board essentially just allows me to see the vibe, the feeling, the way that the brand kind of works together. It gives you this sort of style, and it also limits where you go. So I'm not going to start writing Comic Sans all over the word. So within my mood board, I started adding in typography. Typography is the biggest thing for any brand. I think you can tell a brand apart just from the fonts they use and the typefaces that they try to lean towards. I kind of like this ornate serif look, so I was looking for that over on Dribbble and on Behance. And what I loved about the typography was the way that the type flows and interacts with one another. With this brand one, you can see how the R interacts with the N and it's connected. It just feels customized. With Velotti, I loved how there was a bit of a difference in the middle. It was kind of italicized on the L, but it looked clean, but not too modern. For Ken, it reminded me of Fender. I love that logo type. I don't know why it wasn't in there. And I loved how condensed and tall Vela looks. It's got this sort of gothic cinematic feeling towards it. And one thing to top it off was the Milwaukee logo type. This is based on gothic Germanic typography, and it's just full of sharp edges, and I love that. So with the mood board done, I went to sketch. Sketching the initial concept is always the most tricky because you don't know really where to start. But the way that I sort of deal with the situation is I just start sketching whatever's in my mind and see what happens on paper. There's no judgment normally. Obviously you guys are watching this, so there's going to be a bit of judgment to what I'm drawing. But with any design process, I'm normally locked away in my own space, drawing whatever comes to mind just to brain dump everything in. And then I can judge it later if I want to. The first sketch was kind of this script vintagey look, and it looked a bit too polished. Obviously not in the sketch, but I can sort of see where I'm going with this idea, and it didn't fit the overall tone of the brand. I needed something either blockier or something more ornate and tall. I didn't want anything to be subdued. But then I had an idea to move on to a more Milwaukee, Germanic, Gothic inspired logo type for mock-up. The only challenge was that the actual M for Milwaukee is exactly the same. There's only so many ways that you can create the M in this way. And I did play around with it. I made it even more minimal, which kind of took the class away from the logo type, but I still liked where it was going. So I started drawing it out. I went into my iPad as well afterwards to make sure it looked well enough to be vectorized. Now, drawing a logo type like this can be quite tricky because you think it's just going to be full of geometric lines. So you believe that you could just grid it up with like these two angled lines, and then you can come down with a kind of like this 45-degree angled guide, but it doesn't work like that, and that's because of the optical illusions that happen. So as I was using Adobe Fresco, which is what I use for most of my drawing inside of the iPad, so I had the general look that I wanted to achieve with this logo type in the Gothic style. I started to clean it up, but then I realized that the biggest problem was the K. Now the K looks very strange, and to do a lowercase K within this wouldn't have worked, so I opted for kind of a hybrid between the uppercase and lowercase k. I like the look of it, so I started cleaning it up, which is basically making sure the line work is perfect. Sometimes I'll just trace over it again on a new layer. Sometimes I'll print it off into real paper and use real tracing paper to trace some very good, straight, crisp lines. So when I'm vectorizing it, it becomes easier. Now to bring this in and digitize it, a lot of people would use apps like Adobe Illustrator and other vector apps, but I personally like to use one called Glyphs. This app is a font making app or a type design app. It's designed specifically to create letters in, so it's got a lot of tools in there, such as moving the anchor points, knowing the path directions. There's a lot of plugins that you can download free to make it a lot easier. So I prefer to use glyphs. So I brought my image in and I started tracing around it. Now, as I'm vectorizing the logo type, you'll notice I'm making these very small corrections, and that's just to make sure that the logo type looks like it's going in the right angle. A lot of the time, people think that the type is going in this basically one axis direction, but it's not the case. You have to compensate the angle of the P and the U to match up with the optical balance of the angle that it's already on. And that's the same for most italic typography. So I'm happy with that. All I do is I just copy and paste it into Illustrator, make a few tweaks for it with inside there because it's a bit easier, namely the angles, making sure it looks good when it's small. I like to flip my logo types as well, because when you flip them, you can really see issues that are going on in there. I delete stray path, make some notes on some edits, and do lots of little tweakings that are very boring. But if you'd like to master the art of bespoke logo type design, I've got a masterclass that I filmed, created last year. It's in the description. You get 10% off if you use the code. Go and check it out. Now I had the Gothic version of mockup. I felt like I didn't need to just have one logo. I thought it would be interesting if we were to make it different depending on where it was. My plan was to create a hoodie and a hat. So I thought, what if we have a version of the mockup logo where it looks like it's literally being mocked up or gridded, trying to create the clear space. So I used my favorite font, Newhouse Grotesque Display, and went to that bold font, typed in mockup, and I pushed that tracking in so it had some bleeding to it. I outlined it and I merged all those shapes together and rounded all the corners. It gives it this kind of like blurry, deconstructed look. And then I added some grid lines, which was completely pointless, but the idea is that it looks cool. It kind of looks like a draft. So there's one idea. Now I did come up with many more other ideas which were very boring, but there was one that I really liked. There's this typeface called Instrument Serif, and it's over on Google Fonts, I believe, and I think it's on Adobe Fonts. I wanted to use that, but in the middle, I wanted to take inspiration from my mood board where we had some ornate features in with tall typefaces. So I decided I'm going to make my own letter K. So I drew it out, vectorized it, and it took a bit longer than I thought, but it was this copper plate Spencerian script K that I thought would look really nice in the middle. What it does is it gives it that sort of ornate feeling. It looks not very familiar, but also looks kind of trendy. I like the way it was going. It looked really cool. I put the color red on it because I knew I wanted a black hoodie with red type on it just to get that, I don't know, old cinematic look. So the next step is to put the work into Printful. Now the cool thing about Printful, who are sponsoring this video, is that you can just pick your shirt, put your design in, you just upload it, and it'll tell you exactly where you can place it. But then I realized that Printful allows you to actually print in different places of the hoodie. It's not just the front. You can do the back and the arms. So I thought this would be cool. Instead of putting the markup logo at the front, I'm going to put it at the back, and that's going to be the feature. On the front, near the heart, on the left-hand side, I wanted to have my gridded markup logo there. But that left the arms and it kind of felt bare. I wanted something cool there. I wanted to go all out on this. So I decided to create a type system of just body text and filler text. I'll be honest, it's just lorem ipsum, but that gives it more of that vibe of kind of a graphic design deconstructed look. And obviously with all my products, I like to put volume 1 in front of it if it's the first iteration. So I put volume 1 in red on the other side. So that's the hoodie done. I went ahead and placed my order, but I still needed to work on the hat because I love wearing hats. And then all I have to do is wait for my products to arrive and see if Printful has done a good job on printing and embroidering my work. A couple of days ago, a package arrived. I got my hat that I designed and my hoodie. Let me show you them. Now, first of all, Printful is drop shipping, and I thought that the quality wouldn't be very high. I was so surprised. It is embroidered with the exact color that I wanted, the exact hat, and on all sides. It's a really decent, high quality hat. I don't really want to take the hat off, but it's really quality. The one thing that really impressed me about the hat, though, is on the left-hand side, I've got that little tiny Gothic mock-up logo on there, I didn't know whether this would translate well to embroidery because obviously there's like a machine that's sewing it in. But thankfully my logo type design skills did a good job in translating it because it has done it so well. It's readable even though it's tiny. There's no misprinting in it, so the actual phrase of it are so nice, and the color is bang on, and the placement is better than I thought it would be. On the right hand side I got volume 1 put on there, and to test to see whether the embroidery would be that good, I actually tracked everything together. It was more for the style, but I thought making a very small mark on the side of the hat whilst tracking everything together where all the letters are bleeding into each other would be a really interesting way to see whether the embroidery would work, and it has. They've done a really good job with it. It does not look like it was drop shipped. And not only can you print on the front and the sides, I actually got the back printed as well, or embroidered. Your logo here. I thought that would just be funny. I really like the way that it looks. It's in white, and even with a sans serif lowercase letters from Newhouse Grotesque Display, it has done so well at keeping its detail. So I'm super impressed with the hat, but what about the hoodie? Well, I don't know how they print these so well, but the actual color of markup on here is unreal. There's no misprints in there. The color is really saturated. It feels quality. So the main back of it looks really nice. On the front, we have the normal mock-up logo that I was putting on there with the grid lines. These lines are super thin, but it's done a great job in translating it as well. On the side here, I thought it would be hilarious to put just body text in there, get that designer aesthetic in there. And it just, again, it's just blowing me away that you can actually read it very clearly if you could speak Latin, which I don't, but I use lorem ipsum all the time. On the other side, we have volume 1. That's been printed off really nicely as well. That's going nowhere. Now, the great thing about Printful, what I've loved about this whole process, is that it showed me that I don't have to go and find a printer to start my fashion design business, my t-shirt design business. If I wanted to make a hat that looks cool and not pay a fortune for it, I can design it, fully customize it, and bring it into Printful, buy a test of it, which is really good, and then add that to my Shopify website, add that into any sort of website with an API, and it will automatically fulfill the order for your customers, so you only take the profit. And not only that, the actual packaging that these come in are branded, so you can actually add your logo to your Printful store, and when they send it out to you, there's no Printful branding. It's just A4D. Now, if you would like this hat, I'll leave a link in the description of where you can go and grab it, because I've not had to foot any bills for using Printful. It is print on demand. It's better for the environment. It's better for designers. It allows us to create whatever we want and however many we like, and still have people being able to order for you. So if you'd like to try Printful out, click the link down below in the description. Thank you again, Printful, for sponsoring the video. This one's been really fun. Anytime I get to see my work in the real life where it's tangible, I absolutely love doing that. It just gives a different feeling to it. If you're new around here, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you soon.